So that can happen in a number of different ways. Everybody starts with firearm rights. Of course, we all have Second Amendment rights under the Constitution. So if nothing happens to change that, the default is that everyone has gun rights. The two big categories that can take away your gun rights is felonies and domestic violence. So in Minnesota, anybody who's convicted of a felony loses their firearm rights while they're on probation. So if a person is convicted of a felony crime, they might be placed on probation for 3 years or 5 years, and during that time, they lose their firearm rights completely. But in Minnesota, we have a decent system where once that person finishes probation successfully, then they get their firearm rights back automatically. That all changes, though, if the particular crime they're convicted of is a crime of violence. So under Minnesota law, this crime of violence term has a real specific meaning. It includes a number of different offenses. Could be murder cases, assault cases, burglary, robbery, sexual misconduct. There's all sorts of crimes on that list. Interestingly, one of the crimes on that list is any felony drug crime. So just basic possession of drugs is considered a crime of violence. I don't know why that makes sense, but that's what the law is. So in Minnesota, if you're convicted of a crime of violence, you lose your firearm rights for life. So that becomes much more significant. It's a lifetime ban. The other category I mentioned was domestic violence. So there's a federal law that applies all across the country. Anybody who's convicted of a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence loses their gun rights for life again. And that's even much more difficult to do anything about. So when we represent people in domestic violence cases, we have to be really careful about whether that's going to affect their gun rights forever.